strategic move that Eddie is making for AJ. Why are you not thinking, let's get him set up for kind of animal?
That was years and years and years ago. Like, Clarissa is a way different fighter from when she was back in.
Thanks to those joining me live and to those that will be joining me on our
defenses that she's had to have recently. You know, she's pulled people.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the RoundTable about tribalism. I don't think tribalism is necessarily bad. I just don't think it has to be.
I don't know what he think he sees or what he think he know. But he going to the hospital, bro. Like, bro, you not winning that fight.
You guys mentioned, I think, D-Style, you mentioned him versus Regis Prograis. I'd love, that sounds like a...
Old, I don't need you, you know, and PBC and others, in my opinion, it's like, oh, this is my guy. Like, there's a relationship.
Flat out, it's tough, and we call box, and we go to the end of the round, and then...
That would say, what do you mean by acting black? That's a fair question, but a participant of trash talk knows...
And they're announcing a fight 3-4 months from now. And he ain't going to fight. I bet you anything. He's not going to fight somebody as good as John Wright. What's going on, everybody? D-Style here. Thanks to those joining me live and to those that be joining us here on Archive. It wouldn't be the RoundTable if Christine isn't kicked out after the intro. It is what it is. 123rd edition of the RoundTable. Ernesto from No Puedes Jugar Boxeo will join us in a little bit. Calix Boxing will be joining us later on the show as well. Okay, I do have Jeff, a.k.a. Southpaw Killer. Okay, Hot Boxing Minute in the building. All right, in the ring with Christine. She has a beef, but I'm not going to say the name. I'm just going to let it go. And, of course, Joe Habib with his beef. He's got beefs, too. You know what I mean? Who do you got a beef with, Joe? You need to have a beef with somebody. We all have beefs. Who's your beef with?
I'm not a hater. I'm a lover.
Oh, okay.
I like that.
I guess.
Yes, sir. Can't build up a following without beef to keep the audience engaged.
Yeah, shout out to Rilo Jenkins in the building. Sonteo Media, okay, on here as well. You know, we're going to start off right out of the gate with this Usyk Fury thing, okay? I was hoping that by now we would have an official announcement, but I want to know what you guys think before I give my thoughts here. Shout out to Los Chingones in the chat, by the way. Let's start with you, Hot Boxing Minute. Jeff, talk to us. What do you make, just in general, of this whole thing? The fight's not official. It's not going to happen. What do you make of it?
Okay, normally when it comes to muddled up or ambiguous contract negotiations, I blame everybody involved and I don't pick a side. That's just normally my go-to because who knows what goes on behind closed doors. But on this one, we've got a pattern of behavior and we've got a culprit that we can blame, clear as day. Unfortunately, you know, so let's talk about Tyson Fury, right? He has the fight with Deontay Wilder. He's supposed to fight Anthony Joshua. Wilder files the injunction, blows that fight up, which was the fight he could have made the real money with. He loses to Wilder, and then he has these, you know, back-to-back bum fights with not bum fights. I don't want to call them bums. I hate using that word. With Dillian White and Derek Chisora. Anthony Joshua gets stuck with his WBO mandatory. Alexander Usyk loses back-to-back fights. He loses that second fight in August. And then in September, the Queen dies. And right about that time, you know, Tyson Fury wants to kick him when he's down and offer that you got 2 weeks to close the deal on this one in the middle of his second loss. And it's like, okay, he wants AJ at his most vulnerable. And now he goes into the negotiations with Alexander Usyk after he's done with Dillian White and Derek Chisora and playing a circle jerk game with boxing audiences. And unfortunately, Alexander Usyk has shown throughout his history that he don't got to fight at home. He'll take B-side money. He's coalesced to all the demands. A 70-30 split. That's unbelievable disrespect, considering he's the unified champion with multiple belts, but Tyson Fury is the one with the name. He can pack a stadium. So Tyson Fury went from being the guy who lifted himself off the ground of depression and drug substance abuse or whatever to becoming the people's champion, to throwing his own crown off of his head and pretty much destroying all the good faith in the public that he's built up over all these years. And now he's lollygagging and he pretty much, I come to understand that when you're throw in conditions like 70-30 and then a rematch clause, and then even if you lose, you still want 70-30 back in the UK for a rematch fight. That's pretty much making it impossible for the Usyk side to say yes, which is really indicative if he doesn't want the smoke. That's what it looks like to me. And I would love to hear somebody that's on that can support or say that Tyson Fury isn't the finger to blame on this one, but it's horrible. Like how, he picked the wrong person to lollygag with. There's some room for play with AJ and Deontay Wilder, but Alexander Usyk is one of them dudes that just has so much respect from the boxing community. It's really hard to tear that man down because he's kind of a straightforward dude. He's proven in the past with his actions that he's about the smoke, all the smoke, and any smoke he can get. So Tyson Fury needs to get his head out of his ass and give the fans the fight they want, the undisputed heavyweight championship of the world. I don't care whether it's in the middle of the desert or it's in the UK. Just make that fight happen.
100%. Shout out to Eve for becoming a YouTube member. I appreciate the support. You guys can join anytime, man. As low as 99 cents a month, you help support the channel and the cause, everything. You know what I mean? Al Money to a $2 super sticker. I definitely appreciate that. Shout out to you guys, man. I appreciate it. Christine, are you ready to put respect on Wilder's name? Like I called you. Like, I'm just saying. No, but like that aside, that's a different topic. What do you make of this? Like, it looks like Usyk stood his ground, said, you know what? I gave you everything. I ain't going to give you this, buddy. So, and that kind of caused the fight to fall apart. At least it seems so, although just FYI, it sounds like Warren is still trying to salvage the fight. At least he's making it seem like he is. But what do you make of it?
You know, I've always supported, the Gypsy King. It was like, he was like, bigger than life. I think he's technical. I think he's super talented. But with the matchup that they were going to get, I was definitely going to go for Usyk. And then now, after him agreeing to everything, and Fury is still making excuses or still like not going ahead with the fight, I've lost so much respect for him. Like, I had him on a pedestal, even with all his shenanigans and everything that he does. But this right here is ridiculous because we want to see these matchups. We want to see the best fighting the best. And Usyk understands that. And that's why he's like, even though he was going to take less money, he's like, yeah, bro, let's go. Like, let's do it. And so obviously there's some doubt on Fury's end. I don't know if it's him personally or if it's his team. But, I'm not really sure what the problem is. He was getting everything that he wanted, everything. And then, your favorite boxer said that he would take, the challenge with Usyk. And I'm glad that somebody did step up and say, you know what, they would fight him because he's been the boogeyman. He is a monster. And who's going to fight him?
Well said, well said. I also want to welcome Ernesto Amador from No Puedes Jugar Boxeo. You don't play boxing, ladies and gentlemen. How are you, brother?
Hey, hello, everybody. I'm here in Vegas. Like a few minutes ago, the press conference between David Benavidez and Caleb Plant just finished, and yeah, a great time. The hate between these guys is authentic. They don't like each other, and I believe it's going to be a great fight, maybe the fight of the year. And we don't need to forget about Chris Colbert and Rayo Valenzuela. A great fight as well.
Yeah, for sure. We are going to touch on those fights. It's great to have you on. Thank you for coming on again. We're talking about Usyk Fury. It looks like the fight fell apart. It looks like it's not going to happen. Frank Warren saying he's trying to still make it happen, but it looks like it's not going to happen. What do you make of the negotiations falling apart, and who do you like? How do you feel about it?
Well, first of all, I feel really sad because I truly believe that this is one of the greatest fights since decades. You're talking about heavyweights. I remember when I started covering boxing like 30 or more years ago, and when the heavyweights are doing good, boxing is doing good. So this being said, I truly believe that it's so sad to mention that it's not going to happen, at least for now. In my opinion, it's not only about Tyson Fury or not only about Alexander Usyk. It's so many people involved. I heard from people really close to the teams that it's not because of the fighters. They agreed to have this 70-30%. the 1 million to Ukraine. Everything is running good, but I believe they want to hit the fight. And I mean, there's an option to fight against Joshua. They're planning, so many things. But the thing is that the fight that we want is not other than the Fury Usyk fight, right?
Yeah, no, that I definitely agree with that. I want to give a shout out to Chauncey Pearls. He says, "Up to the panel, getting excited for the fights this weekend. With criticism the PBC has gotten recently, they are delivering a good card this Saturday. Absolutely, I think this is a good fight this weekend." Joe Habib, I know you're the big Tyson Fury fan, right? You own like what 5 Tyson Fury shirts? I'm just putting it out there. I don't want to put your business out there, but you're the big fan. You're part of the Gypsy King train. How do you feel right now about this whole negotiation, all the negotiations falling apart?
Well, it seems like the whole thing that's being mentioned here, the big problem is the rematch clause. But Tyson Fury's team had that rematch clause in the contract. They were the ones that put it in there. And I'm suspecting that it was in there right from the beginning. And I think Usyk and his team knew that was in there from the beginning, and now they're saying to themselves, why is he bringing this up now after all this other stuff that we got worked out? You said something to me that was very, very poignant to me when you mentioned this afternoon when we were talking about this. You were talking about how Fury was bragging about how he was able to make Usyk and his team take this horrible deal. He was basically insulting Usyk and his team, saying that he should fire his manager. So that in itself shows you that the deal that he gave Usyk really wasn't that good. At least from what he's saying, he doesn't believe it was really that good. So Usyk's hearing all this, and then he's saying to himself, now on top of all that, you still want to twist that knife by bringing this rematch clause thing up. And we both talked about this as well. At some point, how much does Usyk have to give in here? How many concessions does Usyk have to make? So it's really tough being a Tyson Fury fan. According to his trainer, Sugar Hill, who is in the UK and who's going to be there all week, and this weekend he's going to be training Lawrence Okoli. He said that they haven't even started camp yet with Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury hasn't even been in camp. He was there basically for Okoli. So it didn't even look like, Fury was even preparing for this fight. It wasn't training for this fight. So it doesn't even look like he had any intentions of going through with this fight. So what I'm hoping for is the fight still happens, but at a later date, because the cutoff is April 1st, right? For the WBA to step in and order that mandatory for Usyk, right? So if they can work out a deal by April, right? And maybe it not be on the 29th, but let's say maybe it's in May or even early June. That would be something that I would hope for. And I do believe that possibly is still on the table. I just think that Fury wasn't ready for the fight at this particular time. He didn't want the fight at this particular time. And I just think that this whole thing was just kind of like a stalling process by him. And I think Usyk has shown that he probably wanted this fight more than Fury did. And I do believe that, Fury does have other avenues he can go down and make some decent money. I think that Usyk, he doesn't really have anything remotely comparable to this Fury fight. So I think because of that, the fight will get done.
Let me, with all my respect, interrupt you, because I truly believe that we are not putting on the table this element. Tyson Fury is the new Muhammad Ali. You agree with that, right? So maybe it's a strategy in order to hit the fight. In May, you have Canelo. April, you have Gervonta and you have Ryan. So I truly believe that if you put this fight in between, it's not going to be very success fight. I truly believe that they deserve to be like the big fight in 1 month. June, it looks like a great opportunity. I'm going to have a conversation with Ex Climax, who is the manager of Usyk, but it's not that Usyk don't want the fight. It's not that Fury don't want the fight. I truly believe that they need to build a huge event. We need to forget that this is like the Trillion Manila. It could happen in Middle East. So it's not about the fighters. But guess what? I understand, in my opinion, that the WBC, WBO, you name it, they need to push in order to be more serious when you talk about a fight. Let's be honest. Fury is not ready now to fight in April 29.
No, that's what I'm saying. I think the fight's still on the table. I just don't think it's going to happen now. I think it's going to happen at a later date. And you could be right. Maybe June will be like I said, late May, early June. I think that's really the strategy all along, in my opinion. I don't think the fight is off the table, if I'm being completely honest. But it's just frustrating that we have to be teased like this. But it's one of my flaws. I've always been impatient. So I'm just gonna have to wait it out.
I'm going to keep it as short as I can. All right. I keep hearing arguments that are being made by a lot of Tyson Fury fans that Usyk should just bend the knee to whatever Tyson Fury says. Look, I never thought 70-30 was a good split. That's my opinion, right? Even though I'm not looking at the figures, so I could be wrong, obviously. But nonetheless, Usyk agreed to it, right? He said, okay, I'll take 30%, you take 70. Let's go, right? And I just think Fury going on the internet and making fun of Usyk and his team and calling them stupid just is the reason why the fight fell apart, in my opinion.
But Eric,
because,
let me ask
sure.
you something, dear Eric. Why is not fair 70-30? Who's the guy who's gonna sell the tickets? Who's the famous guy? Who is the you know what I mean?
True.
It's not about belts. It's not about belts. Think about Fury. Who's the guy who's gonna bring people? I understand that like the romantic people in boxing respect or we respect Usyk, the way he fought, the way he fight, you name it. But the guy who's gonna bring the money is Fury.
Well, it's like this. When Canelo offered to fight the Caleb Plant, right? He offered him $10 million, right? That was 10 times more than Caleb had ever made, ever. Caleb had never sniffed $100 million. He offered him $10 million. Why? It's not because Caleb Plant was actually worth or he generates that type of money, because Canelo really wanted that fight. Why did he want the fight? Because he wanted to be undisputed. He said, I want that belt. I'm going to take that belt. And even if I don't care if you're not worth the $10 million, I'm offering you $10 million. Let's go, right? In this case, if Fury wants to be the first undisputed champion, the first is Lennox Lewis, if he wants that in his legacy, right, to have all the belts, he's going to have to give Usyk something. Now here's the thing. My opinion doesn't matter. Usyk agreed to 30% anyway, right? But you don't, just to compare him to Canelo doesn't go on the internet and call his opponents dumb for agreeing to a certain amount. He doesn't say, oh, you're stupid. Why'd you agree to that? But that's something Fury does. Like, he tries to belittle Usyk, and Usyk's a fighter. He's a grown man. He has an ego, right? And I think what happened was Fury wanted a rematch, and Usyk said, fine, I'll give you everything you want. But if I win and we fight again, I'm the A side. Because now I will be the undisputed champion. I will have a win over you. Because I think Usyk at this point has been a B-side for so long, and he understands why he's the B-side. And there's no against Joshua. Joshua's a bigger name. He's not from a country that hosts a lot of boxing fights, so he had to be the B-side going to other countries to fight. But at some point, I think in his mind, it's, look, if I've been going to other countries to win world titles. I became the undisputed cruiserweight champion. I moved up. I was a mandatory, and I still gave AJ everything he wanted. I give him everything he wanted in the rematch. I'm gonna give Fury everything he wants. But if I do what many believe is an impossible task of beating, well, like you call it, the Muhammad Ali of his era, right? A great fighter, a difficult fighter to beat. If I pull off the upset, I'm going to be the A side. I just think that's what Usyk is doing here. Go ahead, Joe.
I think by Fury insulting Usyk and saying how dumb he is and his team is by accepting the deal, that in itself is basically telling on himself that I know you're worth more than 30%. And I do believe Fury is the the name here. There's no question about that. But I do think that people are kind of underestimating Usyk too. I think Usyk has increased his profile. He's coming off of 2 back-to-back wins over Anthony Joshua. I think in the UK he's established and enhanced his profile, and I just think in Europe in general, which is where most of the interest is going to be in this fight. I mean, this isn't going to be a huge fight in America. It's not going to be a crossover fight in America, but I think in Europe and even probably in the Middle East, I think certain parts of the world are really going to be interested in this fight, right? So, like I said, in that European area, the UK area, I think Usyk has increased his profile a little bit. So 70-30, I think 60-40 would have been fine. But again, 70-30 is the deal he accepted. But at the end of the day, I just kind of do think that he is being minimized a little bit in what he does bring to the table. I don't think he's that same fighter in terms of profile he was going into the first Joshua fight. After beating Anthony Joshua twice, being involved in those 2 big fights, he has to have gotten some sort of rub from Anthony Joshua, and I do think his profile is better than what the Fury fans and the Fury people are saying. I do think he's not on a level in terms of status as Fury, but he's not down here either. He's somewhere around here, I would say.
Yeah.
But guys, do you believe that Usyk is gonna make this amount of money with any other fighter?
No.
I mean,
no.
So it's fair. Fury is right. Hey, I'm gonna give you 30% of the biggest money of your entire career.
Yeah.
So if Usyk win the fight, okay, you can be A side. But for now, I'm the A side. I understand the position.
So can I ask you something, Ernesto? So let me ask you this. I'm not even saying it's not fair. Because to me, boxing is not even about fair or unfair. It's just about what you negotiate, what you get. It is what it is, right? But if I was doing business with you in anything, right?
Yeah.
And I gave you 30%, and then I go to Joe, and you hear me saying, and that's so he's dumb. He agreed to 30%. He doesn't know how to negotiate. Yeah, and you haven't signed the paper yet. But you heard me say all these things. Would you sign the paper?
Well, to be honest, yes, because I want to show to the world that it's not about money. I mean, Usyk mentioned that it's not about money, right? So, okay, if you disrespect me, if you are trash talking about me, I'm going to show you in the ring, and I'm going to show to the world that I'm going to prove they're wrong. But if you really want the fight, it's okay, even if you mention idiot. I mean, it's not only in boxing. I used to work 30 years in TV, ESPN, Univision, you name it, and the people is very competitive. It's the same. I don't care if some people they say Ernesto is so bad commentator in boxing. Do you believe I'm worried about it? I want to show to the world that I want to prove them wrong. So I truly believe that Usyk needs to fight Fury, not Fury. Fury don't need Usyk, to be honest. He don't need belts. He's the new Muhammad Ali. Fury is not about belts, at least for me.
Okay. I mean, I'm going to respectfully disagree. I do think he needs Usyk. It's my opinion.
Ernesto, do you think, though, with all due respect, because I understand what you're saying, your argument is it has merit, without question. Your argument has merit. But do you think the general public is going to share your perception of the situation? Because he's getting a lot of negative backlash.
Oh yeah. I understand, and I totally understand that it's something like a strategy. I mean, I don't know if you know Fury like from close. This is a guy who is really nice guy. He's only doing the trash talk because he wants to sell the fight. I see this guy helping people. He's not like the guy who's gonna show to the world that he's helping people. But I totally understand that people understand that sometimes the belts are not the same that they used to be. You know what I mean? So think about this. Tommy Fury and Jake Paul, why in this world they deserve a belt?
They don't.
They don't.
So that's what I'm saying. Fury, it's so smart. And okay, Usyk, with your belts or without your belts, I'm Tyson Fury. And guess what? I can fight Andy Ruiz Jr. I touched base with Andy Ruiz yesterday. So they can fight any. You know what I mean?
Usyk does lose more. By Usyk walking away, he loses more than Fury does. I agree with that.
Yeah, it's a big.
That's irrefutable. That's irrefutable. So from that perspective, I agree with you. I'm just being selfish. I want the fight. I mean, I'm just gonna lie to you.
I respect that too, Ernesto. My only thing is, as a fight fan, as somebody that wants to will pay for this, who else could he possibly fight? Like, honestly, like, that's going to get us excited and want us to purchase the fight. To me, Usyk is the only option. Not that, no, he doesn't need him. He could retire again and say he's going to stay retired and he'll be fine, sail off into the sunset. But who else could he possibly fight that is going to light that fire, light my fire, and make me want to pay for the fight? Like, as a fan, like, Usyk's the only one for me.
Here's what I'll say.
Let me answer you. Joshua, it's so simple. Joshua, it could be bigger fight without belts. Believe me.
Probably.
For that money, yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, money, of course. And
For
if
them,
you put together, let me answer.
Even the Joyce fight would be a big fight.
My fight. Okay, but guess what? I always respect the Mexican fans, and it's not because I'm a Mexican, but they pay for boxing. You know what I mean? It's a religion for us. And what about Andy Ruiz Jr. against Tyson Fury, LA, let's say?
I will give you that. I will give you that.
And who is more marketable? Who's Andy Ruiz or Usyk?
For sure, you have a point with that.
Andy Ruiz.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
At the end, Tyson Fury don't need Usyk.
Well,
Usyk
I think Wilder's going to fight Ruiz.
I'll say this: if he wants to be the Muhammad Ali of this era, Muhammad Ali fought everybody.
Okay, like, but it's a different era.
Like,
okay, outlets, organisms, it's not the same. You know, they kidnap boxing. It's because the streaming services, the Zone, BBC, you name it. So they can fight each other. It's not because of the fighters.
Yeah, I get it. I'm Mexican. You know, I get it. You know, for me personally, I'd rather see Usyk. I don't care about seeing Andy Ruiz, but I know that the Mexican people would be a big fight. For me personally, Usyk's the one, but you know, I'm the minority.
Okay, in a romantic way, right? But
of course,
if we talk about money, okay, let's use the shoes of the fighters. So your career is like the shortest career. They're gonna work like 30 years fighting, right? It's gonna be 10 years, let's say. So they need to choose money, and I respect that. I mean, the romantic side, the belts, blah blah blah.
But not all the time though. Like,
but now
Canelo didn't have to choose, like, wanting to be undisputed to do the planned fight. He had to go to PBC to do it.
Yeah.
But he wanted the undisputed.
Okay, but Canelo is very different in a way of think. If you compare Canelo with Tyson Fury,
I agree.
Right? Canelo is it's about legacy. You know what I mean? It's not about money for Canelo anymore.
Yeah, he has a lot of money already for sure.
I think so.
Hey, I want to give a shout out to Ricky Ricardo. He says, Saludos, Benavidez by late KO planning to outbox David clean with no knockdowns for a decision. Fury doesn't want to risk getting outclassed by Usyk. Oh, man, we're going to go ahead and talk about this fight. Ernesto, you're there. What's the energy you're feeling from these fighters? And do you have a prediction for this fight?
Oh, yeah. I believe it's 55-45 for Benavidez. I truly believe that the power is very young, is very hungry, and we need to forget that he started boxing at 2 years. He was like a 250 pounds boy. He received bowling, and now it's a monster. By the way, he changed the nickname. It's not Bandera Roja anymore, the red flag. Now he's a Mexican monster, and I can tell. I was surprised because I know Benavidez since forever. I remember, this is anecdotic. They are trying to sign with TopRank, and TopRank, they don't care about David, only Jose. But now, with Memo Heredia next to him, it's a very, very different animal, if you let me use this word. It's like a beast, a Mexican beast. It's hunger, it's focus. And the thing that surprised me the most is that he's not losing his mind. He's not, he's in bad mood. You know what I mean? It's personal, but I can tell he's very, very focused regarding Benavidez. In the other hand, Plant, body language is like a worry for something. You can tell that he's worried.
Okay, all right. Calix, how do you see this fight? And do you see the same body change in Benavidez?
Yeah, I do. And, we talked about this Monday D-Style, and we both rated our excitement level on 1 to 10, and we both said, what, about a 4 or 5? Now I'm feeling it. Like, now it's getting up to like a 7. Now I'm starting to feel that buzz, a little more energy. The face-to-face, you can see it. Like, these guys do not like each other.
It's real.
It's real. And that's the thing. Like, it's not manufactured. This is real, and there's implications here. There's Canelo implications. There's weight class implications. There's legacy implications. There are implications here. And on top of that, both fighters are still question marks, right? Because Benavidez, this is a huge step up for him. We haven't seen him in this big fight. And then on top of that, Caleb Plant fought Canelo, right? He went to the tippy top. But at the same time, if you look at his CompuBox stats, take defense, for instance. His opponents before the Canelo fight, CompuBox average, they were landing about 5 punches per round on him, or 5 power shots per round, about 7 total. Against Canelo, those numbers doubled, right? So we're still like, who is Caleb Plant? Is he more of the guy that's that CompuBox average, or more of the guy that fought Canelo, where Benavidez, if Benavidez is landing 9, 10 power shots, 11 power shots per round against Caleb Plant, it's going to be a rough night. It's going to be a rough night. So I think I have a good feel on what's going to happen the first half of the fight. Caleb Plant fought well the first half of the fight against Canelo. But we asked that question. As Benavidez ratchets up the output, and he continues to throw power shots at a high rate like Canelo did against Caleb Plant, will Caleb Plant start to falter in the second half of the fight? That's why the over-under is set at 9.5 with even odds. That's why David Benavidez by knockout is minus 150 right now. And that's why Benavidez, this was 1.5 to 1. Like, this was minus 150, 160 when it first opened up. Benavidez is now up to close to minus 400, 4 to 1 favorite. So a lot of money is coming in on Benavidez right now. And I wonder if that has anything to do with how his body looks. He looks sharp. He looks good. But Plant does too. Like, I don't want to diminish what Plant's doing. I still stick to my initial prediction. I think Plant's going to go the distance. I do. I think he's going to go the distance. I favor the over. But I just, it's hard to pick against Benavidez in this fight.
For sure. Hot minute. So what do you got in this fight? Are you feeling the vibe? Are you feeling the excitement here?
Oh, I've been excited about this fight. I've seen the posts online and people saying they didn't feel the buzz. Maybe that's a personal thing, because I felt like I've been eagerly anticipating this fight at my gym. We've been watching the build up to it and haggling over the details of Caleb Plant versus David Benavidez. This fight should have happened when they were both, WBC and IBF champions, whatever. We're down here at this point in the road. Like Callie was saying, it's 55-45 roughly, if not a 50-50 fight, as far as I can see it. It's really difficult because they both bring unique things to the table. When it comes to what I see is Caleb Plant's biggest flaws, really to me his main flaw would be his, we've seen him kind of his stamina towards the second half of the fight, because he's very movement centric, or his style is really based around his leg movement. I believe that's something you can't correct. With Benavidez, he has phenomenal amounts of technical deficiencies, which to this point nobody has exploited because of his volume output and his power. I also take into account, Breadman Edwards being in Caleb's corner. Breadman has experience against David Benavidez. I think he was it Kyron Davis's corner, and then even then, taking a style like Benavidez, you got Breadman Edwards, who was with Julian Williams, and he was there in the Jarrett Hurd fight, and he was the first one. And it seemed like up until that point, Jarrett Hurd was unstoppable, and he had that kind of lackadaisical defensive style, press forward, don't really cut angles, and just kind of steamroll through people. And he figured out a method with J-Rock Williams. He didn't have somebody in Kyron Davis that was kind of physically capable of executing a very well drawn out game plan. No knock to Kyron Davis, but I think that given Breadman Edwards' experience and David Benavidez' lack of experience at this level in the game, I'm going to go with Caleb Plant to win by decision. And I know I'm probably jumping on the sword on that one because I feel like most people are going to pick Benavidez, but I'm leaning on Breadman Edwards to come with a solid game plan and Benavidez to just take advantage of the moment. A lot of people are making big noise about how good David Benavidez looks, but I'm one of those people that's of the mindset that if it ain't broken, why fix it? Like if it wasn't broke, if he wasn't having stamina issues or power issues prior to that, why are we changing the formula now? But his body looks great. He looks like he's super in shape. Clearly Memo's doing the business with him and he's got, a personal cook and stuff, but I'm going to go with Caleb Plant by decision, and I'm not confident in that one, but I think Caleb Plant pulls it off. I think him and Breadman Edwards are going to have the game plan, and I think they recognize that Benavidez is extraordinarily heavy on that front foot to the point that his back foot comes off the ground, so that leaves a lot of possibilities for turning him around and kind of cutting angles on him if you really move around correctly. Man, that's what I see happening.
D-Style, real quick, can I bring this up? Because you're picking Caleb, and I'm close. And like you, I'm not sure on this fight. I don't have a good handle on it.
I'm not either.
The reason I love it, but seeing Memo Heredia in his camp, did that change your mind at all about going into this fight? Number one. And then number two, you can toss this around. Anybody can touch on this, is Cotto versus Margarito 1 versus Cotto Margarito 2 versus Margarito 2. Cotto made that simple adjustment of not allowing Margarito to come forward, get momentum going. Do people think that maybe they're watching that second fight in Plant's camp? We're not going to let Benavidez come forward. We're going to get a little cagey in there. We're going to, a lot of tactical clinching. Do y'all think we're going to see that too?
I believe so. I do think Plant's going to have a game plan in this fight. I do think he's going to try to implement clinching. He's obviously going to use the whole ring. That's why they requested a big ring. We'll see. Joe? Habib?
I got to tell Calix, I was able to get the knockout proposition at a -125, and I jumped on that. I got about 5 bets right now on David Benavidez. They're all stoppage plays. Wow. I haven't been this confident in a fight in a long, long time.
I'm not confident at all.
I'm very confident. And I'll tell you why.
Talk to us.
I talked about Tim Tszyu last week, and Tim Tszyu and David Benavidez share a similarity. There's 2 types of counterpunchers, right? Counterpunchers that like to step back and set traps, right? There's another type of counterpuncher where they kind of come forward and they have that high guard and they catch your shot. And as they catch your shot, they force you to move your hands around because you're catching shots and you're patting the shots down. And while they pull the arm back in, they have to reset because you're parrying the shot. It's not like you're just catching and shooting it. You're parrying it and you're creating openings, right? So I said Tim Tszyu is that type of guy where he's not setting traps and looking for openings. He's actually creating openings. David Benavidez forces openings because he's so strong coming forward. He's got such a heavy-handed jab that he not only offsets his opponent's offense, but he's pushing them back, knocking them off balance. So while they're trying to reset, he's already on top of them. He knows how to collapse that pocket like something crazy because even though sometimes he does square up with his feet, he's so quick that one mistake he makes, it's hard to catch him and capitalize on that, right? So while he's coming forward, he's got those fast feet and he's got such heavy hands. And a lot of times he'll throw a lot of those flurries. And in those flurries, that there's one shot that gets you. You just got to be prepared for that one shot. It's like you're being blanketed with a flurry, and you're saying to yourself, I'm going to try to defend this flurry, but you can't guess which one of those is going to be the hard punch, right? When he's coming forward. And he's so good at doing that. Like, he doesn't exert a ton of energy in every single punch, but every combination is always finished with either a hard hook to the body or a hard short hook to the head or a crisp right hand down the middle. He always mixes that one hard punch in there. And he's a tall, lanky guy. And usually guys who are tall and lanky like that, they don't have fast twitch muscle fibers. This guy's gifted in the fact that he has both slow twitch and fast twitch because he's got a ton of stamina. He's got a ton of stamina for days, right? So I think Plant, even though he's going to try to slow David Benavidez down because Benavidez is so big and so strong, I think come fight night, Benavidez, when you see him in the rings, next to Caleb Plant, he's going to probably look like a cruiserweight going up against a super middleweight come fight time, right? And I just think he's going to be so much stronger. And even with that added size, he's still going to have the speed to go along with it. And then you could say, well, everyone's saying that Plant slows down, right? And some of his defenders are saying, well, he just did that in the Canelo fight. That was a different story. But if you go back and watch that Usyk fight, I had him losing the last 4 rounds of that fight. And Usyk was starting to get to him and hurt him. And certain points in that fight, like in the 12th round, it almost looked like Plant, for a split second there, was on the verge of getting stopped. He looked uncomfortable in those last 4 rounds, right? So Plant is the type of guy where his defense is his legs. He's not a guy that could stand there and kind of, slip and slide, dip and duck. Everything is based off of his legs, getting out of range, turning you. And he uses a lot of movement in there, and that takes up a lot of energy, right? And I just think David Benavidez is going to wear him down, and I see a stoppage, honestly, in between like 7 and 9 rounds in this fight. So I don't think Plant will be strong enough to keep David Benavidez off him. There's going to be a point in this fight where he's going to resort to throwing get off me punches, sort of like he did against Canelo, because he's just going to try to do anything to keep Benavidez off him. And I don't think he'll be able to do that in this fight. I just don't.
Man. Yo, Christine, are you co-signing a lot of that? Are you feeling different?
No.
Do you side with Hot Boxing Minute or more Caleb Plant? Where are you?
Well, I know who's going to win, and it's Caleb Plant.
And
I'm going to tell you why. First of all, Hot Boxing Minute, hit a lot of points that I would too. I'm not a betting woman, so I don't know what the odds are and this and that. And hey, it doesn't matter, like, to me, because I'm looking at it from a different perspective. Non-ped users, the physicality, it doesn't mean anything. And like Hot Boxing Minute said, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Benavidez had said, yeah, I'm emotional. But if you've never laced up the gloves, you can't speak on this. Well, I've never been on the big stage, but I've laced up gloves, and I've also laced other boxers many gloves. And I know that whenever your corner, your people have this hatred and this kill, sometimes that gets in the way of your game plan because you get careless. You want to rush in. You just want to kill. Also, the relationship between coach and boxer is very important. And I feel like Breadman is the answer for Caleb. I do. He has shown and proven what his coaching does. And there's no way that they're going into this fight blind. They have studied hours and hours of film. They have done the drills. They have done the mitt work, the sparring, the bag work that they need to do, because they're going to have the formula on how to beat Benavidez. My only concern before I started thinking about Breadman being in his corner was, Caleb does tend to gas out, in the later rounds. I don't think that's going to be the case. I know that he knew that he had his strength and conditioning coach, whoever it is, better up the ante, and he's going to have to do what he's got to do so he can go all rounds. I think it's going to go to a decision, and I think that Caleb is going to outbox him.
All right. Now, I want to ask a question to Ernesto here. Caleb's he's been in the ring with the biggest name. He's been with the brightest lights against Canelo already. Do you think it's going to work to his advantage because he's already been in a bigger event than this before?
I mean, he mentioned this all week, all fight week, and I agree with the new corner. This new formula is gonna work. I was having a conversation with Stitch, who's gonna wear like a Cutman, and he told me, "Hey, don't get me wrong. I'm a Mexican as well, but I can tell that this duo between the new corner in Caleb Plant, it would be very, very dangerous. But I'm gonna put it this really easy. Sometimes we are like a very, very deep analysis, you know. But let's think about this. Who have the biggest? Who is the biggest puncher? Please answer to me.
Benavidez.
Who have more power? Benavidez, right?
Yeah.
That doesn't always.
Yeah. Who have the better boxing IQ?
I would say Caleb Plant.
Okay, I agree. I agree. Who fought against more complicated, opponents? Of course, Plant, right?
Plant. Yeah.
So if we put together everything around, it's a very close fight. The thing is, I can't see like a decision fight. It's not going to the distance. Believe me, this hate between these guys is authentic. It's real. They hate each other, and guess what? This is a fight of one mistake fight. You know what I mean? I don't think Caleb Plant can resist the power of Benavidez. But what about the opposite thing? If you hit the body, sooner or later, like in Mexico, we mentioned, pégale al cuerpo, que la cabeza se cae sola. You know what I mean? Hit the body, and then the head is gonna.
The head will follow. Yeah.
So again, for me, it's 55-45. He's a champion. The crowd, everything around, the hunger is younger, and we need to remember what happened to Caleb Plant with Canelo. The people believe that okay, he received a knockout and he's good. No, the knockout's still there. You know what I mean? So he's gonna keep this knockout forever, and we need to think about that. Benavidez is really clean. I mean, he didn't receive so many punches like Plant. Remember the fight against Bolivita Uzcategui? It was a very complicated fight for Caleb Plant.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
mostly of the time, Benavidez is like very fast ending fighter. He knocked out almost everybody.
Here's the problem I have sometimes when people use that word boxing ability. A lot of times people love to say the guy who boxes on the outside and moves more and has more of a, I don't know, maybe an aesthetically pleasing style. Automatically that guy has better boxing ability. But I'm going to give you my honest opinion of this. I think when they're at close range, I think David Benavidez is a much, much better inside fighter than Caleb Plant. The thing is once Benavidez runs out of, once Caleb Plant runs out of ring and they're close, I think he's at a serious, serious disadvantage. Now you can argue maybe when there's space, maybe Benavidez is at a disadvantage, but not as great of a disadvantage as when they're close.
Okay,
so
Joe,
I think from a distance, Plant may have a slight advantage. From close range, I think Benavidez has a significant advantage. That's just my opinion. Go ahead.
Okay, but Joe, just a question, Joe. But it's so easy to define this fight. I mean, I'm asking you, do you believe this fight is like a boxer against puncher?
No, I think this fight is a boxer versus a boxer puncher. I think Benavidez has very underrated boxing skills. I think he can box.
I agree with you.
I think he can box. So to me, it's a boxer versus a boxer puncher.
Okay, I agree, 100%. But the people are underestimating Plant. They believe that's going to be a piece of cake, and they are wrong. Plant is not a piece of cake.
Here's another thing you guys got to consider is the hatred they have for each other. Is one of them going to fight out of their fight with emotion?
Well, Benavidez's style works well if you're angry.
Yeah.
To me, that's a. Here's the thing: there's a difference between having an uncontrolled rage and having a spiteful anger. When
Yeah.
you have a spiteful anger, you're like, damn, I had to wait all this time for this. There's no way I'm gonna let this guy escape my wrath. You know what I'm saying? This isn't like I want to kill this guy because he stole my girlfriend. This is like, you made me wait. We had all this bad blood building up. You're gonna pay. You know what I mean? And looking at Benavidez's body, and I mean, he looks incredible. I think Benavidez is gonna do a number.
Okay, he has a six-pack.
What about height and reach?
Benavidez has the edge and height. Benavidez has longer arms and he's taller than.
He does,
yeah. What about the jab? Is you know what?
Like I told you, I said Benavidez has a good jab. He has a very underrated jab. He has a heavy-handed jab where again it's just not there to create openings. When he's setting up punches with that jab, he's pushing you back and knocking you off balance.
I need to hear from
able to collapse the pocket on you.
I agree.
Jeff, Christine, I mean, you're getting bombarded with reasons why Plant's going to lose. What's going on?
It's all valid reasons. I think I like Caleb's jab better than I do Benavidez's jab.
Caleb,
I do. I feel like Caleb Plant has more variety. Caleb Plant has more variety in his jabs. Caleb Plant will throw pitter patter jabs. He'll throw heavy jabs. He'll throw single jabs, double jabs, cut the angles. Benavidez throws one heavy thudding jab. He throws one type of jab. It's heavy and it's thudding. He'll go up top and go down low, but it's the same pop, pop, pop.
It's hard jab, you know.
Yeah, it's a hard jab.
Caleb will throw it from different angles. He'll throw the up jab. He'll throw it out of the shell. And I'll give you this too. Like Caleb, he's got a strong left hand. When he lands it, he showed that against Darrell. He set it up nicely. And once again, I keep hearing Breadman Boxing is having him sit on his punches more. So, that goes back to what Ernesto said. It's hard to envision this a decision fight. It's just a feeling I have. I don't have a strong feeling. I don't have a strong sense of what's going to happen. But my instincts tell me Caleb's going to outperform. He's going to make this a fight. Benavidez isn't going to knock him out. And I could be wrong on that. But once again, Benavidez has more pathways to victory. He has the knockout. It's harder to envision Plant knocking him out. And then on top of that, the judges, who are the judges going to go generally with in a fight like this? The aggressor. The guy
all I want to know is this. This is all I want to know. Look, Benavidez looks impressive. He's got a six-pack. He looks in shape. I mean, I'm like, damn, he's looking scary. I wouldn't want to be fighting him. That's for sure.
You a little jealous?
But here's the thing. A little bit. But here's the thing. Okay? Like, if his stamina is amazing and he's all these things you guys are describing, he's got great reach, the stamina, he could go on for round after round, no problem. What's with the abs? Well, what's with the aesthetics then? What's that about?
And on top of that, too, D-Style is, once again, it's a big question mark because it's a huge step up. He hasn't fought top-level competition yet. So we look at his CompuBox numbers. What do the CompuBox numbers tell us? He's throwing 67 punches per round. He's landing 46% of his power shots, which is off the chart. His CompuBox tells us that he's an offensive machine. But once again, who is he doing it against? So that's the thing. Is he going to produce these type of numbers against Caleb Plant? Is the big question.
You take Canelo out of
Caleb Plant can bring that number down from 67 to say 52. We got ourselves a fight. And once again, we're saying that Benavidez is this output machine, but we haven't seen him go. Have we seen him go 12 rounds yet? Like, how many times have we seen him go 12 rounds?
But take Canelo out of Caleb Plant's resume. The resumes is very comparable. They're very similar.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Very true.
And here's the thing. If you're a Plant fan and you're hearing his trainer say, we're going to sit down on our punches, that's not really encouraging because his claim to fame is his movement, right?
It's cap.
And it goes back to
a 24-inch foot range.
It goes back to what Ernesto said. It's neither guy has decision on their mind, right? Because if they're talking about sitting on their punches, and then Benavidez, the reason I bring up Memo is when Memo's in your training camp, what is it? Heavy weightlifting. He said it like boxers. He said it 10, 12 years ago. I saw an interview. He said boxers are in the Stone Ages. They're not doing weightlifting. We're going to do weightlifting. We're going to sit on our punches. when you have Memo, when you bring Memo into a training camp, you're thinking knockout.
Yeah.
That's what you're thinking.
Well, look, I want to go to another fight that's on this card. I'm going to start with you, Jeff. Okay. It is Chris Colbert versus Rayo Valenzuela. They're both coming off devastating losses, but it's a nice crossroads fight. I actually like these type of fights on undercards and stuff like that. It's a must-win, or at least it feels like a must-win for both guys. It is a big ring, since that's what Plant wanted. That's where the undercard fight's in. I don't know if anybody wants to take that into account, but how do you see this fight, brother?
Well, the big ring clearly is going to favor Chris Colbert. It's obviously a very interesting matchup. I think it's kind of a common theme these days that we say that we get to see these prospects now, where normally we didn't see them in 12 fights, 16 fights until they were actually contenders. So we get to see them as they develop. And we've been following Chris Colbert since he had that weird documentary video of his amateur Olympic trials, and Rayo Valenzuela kind of blew up off that supposed sparring video of him and Tiafimo. They're both at that interesting juncture in their careers. They just barely got started, but they both already have one losses that nobody expected either of them to get, by the dark horse Dominicans, who have been coming up and just kind of knocking everybody out left and right. Edwin De Los Santos gave Rayo Valenzuela that loss, and then, of course, Hector Luis Garcia to Chris Colbert. You know, they both have, stylistic differences. Obviously, Chris Colbert, I think he fancies himself more as like an ambidextrous boxer, but he doesn't have a lot of pop. Rayo Valenzuela is like a kind of a powerful counter puncher style, as best as I can kind of analyze it. It's another one of those fights where I feel it's pretty evenly matched. Whoever's doing his matchmakings for this card, great matchmaking. When it comes to tight matches like this, I'm always going to lean, if I'm not really sure, on a person I perceive to have more technical tools. And I think that's Chris Colbert. I think Chris Colbert's smart enough not to sit in the pocket. I think he kind of saw himself as like a dog's dog, and he probably learned the hard way with Hector Luis Garcia. He's not a dog like that. So I think he's smart enough to not sit in the pocket with Rayo Valenzuela, and I believe he'll stay moving. And it might be a bit of a risk, because this isn't, he normally fights at 130. This is a 135 fight, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm going to Chris Colbert to win by decision. And again, I'm not confident in that one either.
Okay, all right. Sounds like a great fight. Ernesto, Chris Colbert, Rayo Valenzuela, must win. They're both coming off some losses, but it's a must win. Who do you think wins this fight?
This fight is really interesting because if you take a look and you compare everything, they lost against Dominican fighters. They look like they're gonna be like the biggest or rising star ever. And I can tell that it's a very, very serious fight for both of them. It's kill or to be killed. Because if you lost a fight, and I was having an interview with Rayo and Colbert, they understand that the guy who lost the fight is going to be at the end of the line. So that's the most important thing. Because you know how cruel is boxing, or boxing is. So this being said, I truly believe in 135, I can see decision fight. They're not gonna be for the cards. They don't like each other. They were about to fight today here in the press conference and after the press conference, but something is telling me that this new Rayo Valenzuela now is humble again. It's almost the same with Colbert, but don't get me wrong. Rayo Valenzuela, if you can help me to translate paisana mexicana, ¿cómo dices cuando pierdes el piso?
¿Cuándo qué?
Si me ayuda mi paisana o tú, querido Chris, cuando pierdes el piso, you know que ya pierdes el piso y te sientes, and you feel that you...
When you lost the floor, you lost the range.
Oh, yeah. You feel like, you know. So he lost the floor, and he recognized that. And when you recognize in front of the world that you believe that you are Britney Spears, and you're not, they understand that this is the fight. In the other hand, Chris Colbert told me, hey, this is not a war for me. I came here just to receive the payment, and I understand that I need to beat this guy. But guess what? In almost a decade, I only have one lost. You know what I mean? And I can tell that he's a little arrogant in the way he answered he believes that he's undefeated. He believes that he's a world champion, and he's not. He needs to understand the moment, because if you don't understand and you don't realize what is the moment for you now, this could be again the fight. If you lost this fight, you're gonna be like the Ronnie James Dio song, "Last in Line," you know.
For sure, for sure. And so I want to ask you one more question before we, because I know you got to get going.
Oh yeah, yeah. I need to run. They are killing me with so many WhatsApps, my editors and.
Yeah, for sure. So let me just ask you one question. We'll let you go. It was for the next topic here. I'm confused by this. So I just want to know what you think. Well, what do you make of Adrien Broner signing with Don King? What are your thoughts on that?
I always believe that Don King is the most intelligent or smart guy in boxing. Not anymore. This is a stupid move. You know, when you put money in someone that Adrien Broner don't respect Adrien Broner, don't respect boxing, don't respect nobody. And if you put money on this guy, I mean, he already conquered 4 weight class divisions, right? But it was a long time ago. I always mention when I talk about Adrien Broner, that is not a problem anymore. The only problem is for him. And bad move. Again, I believe my dear friend Don King is not the smartest guy in boxing anymore. Do you believe? Let me ask you this, all of you guys. Do you believe that my friend Bob Arum is gonna sign Adrien Broner? That's a question. No. Of course, no. So why in this world you need to sign this guy?
I don't know. He'll probably be sitting on the shelf and not fight. I think that's what's going to happen. So I don't know what Adrien Broner's thinking. And also, I want to thank you for coming on. And you have a good one, man.
Thank you.
Please, remember this. Se puede jugar fútbol, béisbol, básquetbol, ping pong, canicas, hasta la Barbie, pero no puedes jugar boxeo. Un abrazo desde Las Vegas. Thank you. Sorry, I apologize for my bad English, but I'm trying.
You're awesome.
You're great. We got you. We understood.
I'm better in Spanish.
Absolutely, man.
Okay. Gracias.
Have a good one, brother.
Bye.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias a ustedes.
So, everybody, you don't play boxing. There you go. Calix, talk to us. Rayo, Colbert, who you got?
Once again, great fight. And once again, I'll echo how my boxing minute. I don't have a good feel for it either. I don't have. It's just tough. I can see it going either way. The 22-foot ring, Chris Colbert, but I just go back to inactivity. Chris Colbert has been 13 months since he last fought. So coming off of a loss, been 13 months. El Rayo's loss is a little fresher, which could be a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know, but I think he's going to come out a little sharper. I think he's going to jump on Colbert. And on top of that, there's a 10-round fight. Okay, so it's a decision fight. And it's a fight at 135. Chris Colbert didn't have power at 130. He's certainly not going to carry any power up to him at 135. He has the same issues that Malignaggi had in his career, right? Is when you can't crack an egg, your ceiling can only go so high, right? So when you face a certain level of opposition, you'll tend to fall short. And Malignaggi actually exceeded expectations throughout his career. For a guy with one hand, with no power, he exceeded expectations. He reached his ceiling. He fought in big fights. He just fell short in his biggest fights. And what was it due to? The lack of power. So I think Colbert's going to have the same issues. And I think he's going to have the issues with El Rayo here. If El Rayo is smart, jump on him early, see where his head's at. And once again, it's a 10-round fight. Jump on him early. Try to get rounds in the bank. His counter punches likely are not going to hurt you or put you on the canvas. So just try to throw stuff at the wall. That would be my best advice. But the 22-foot ring definitely, if it's going to favor one person on that card, it's Chris Colbert, the 22-foot ring. I don't know if it's going to favor Caleb Plant the way people think it will, but Chris Colbert, it will. I just think it's interesting to me that the odds have closed, and it's pretty much a toss-up now. There's a toss-up fight going in, and I tend to favor El Rayo.
Okay. Joe, both coming off losses. Who do you got? Who do you favor?
Well, Venezuela's coming off of a very bad loss. I do think, just from the outside looking in, I do think Colbert looks to be the quicker guy. I think he's got a great pair of legs. As Kalik said, he's a great counterpuncher. He moves very well. If he fights a very disciplined fight, which I think he knows he has to do here, I think he's not going to be cocky. I think he knows that if he makes mistakes here, he's going to have to pay for them. And I think he learned from his loss. There's not much you can learn from a loss like Venezuela had. I mean, he just got demolished, you know. But Colbert had a tough loss. You know, he fought on. He went the distance, but he had a tough loss. But like I said, I think Venezuela's loss was tougher. You know, Colbert's going to be moving up in weight. He's going to be the smaller guy. But like I said, if he fights smart and in discipline, I think he can outpoint Venezuela here. I think he can be the trickier guy in there. I think he'll set the traps. I think he'll let Venezuela come forward because Venezuela is going to come forward, and he's going to have to probably use that aggression against Venezuela and let him make the first mistake and make him pay for the mistake. And he can't just stand in front of him. He's got to constantly move, and he's just got to be able to make sure that he picks and chooses his spots wisely. And he can't allow himself to get trapped on the ropes. He can't allow himself to get out-muscled and out-bullied in this fight. So he's going to have to constantly be looking for those escape routes after he punches. And he's going to have to fight smart, because if he doesn't fight smart, this could be a long night for him. But I think he will fight smart, and I think he will get the decision here. I think he'll be the quicker guy, landing the more telling blows.
Okay. All right, Christine. Rayo Valenzuela or Chris Colbert? Must win for both guys here.
So, Chris, you know, he throws bunches of punches. His defense is nice. I know he doesn't like pressure. He was on the ropes a lot, you know, whenever he fought Garcia. He seemed to kind of dwindle out at the end, kind of gassed out. And Rayo, to me, he fights better against orthodox fighters. And, you know, we know Chris switches. So has he done his homework? You know, did he, you know, notice that as well? Even though I think Rayo, sometimes he throws some wide shots and he has his chin in the air. I would pick him only if Los Santos did not, like, I felt like Los Santos really hurt him. So I'm wondering, has it carried over? Is he still, whether it be mental or physical or whatever, you know, was he, how bad was he hurt? I mean, it looked bad, but how bad was he hurt? And, you know, the big ring, I don't know. It can go either way because, you know, Chris does gas out a little bit. And Rayo, we know he just wants you into space and he wants to, you know, muscle you, you know. So I don't know, like if he's not hurt still, like mentally or whatever it is, I'm going to say he's going to win. Okay. I used to be hot on both of them, you know, but these guys, you know, Garcia and Los Santos, they kind of, I don't want to say they exposed them, but they kind of showed us some different things with these guys. So it's kind of up in the air for me.
Look, I'm actually going to disagree with something Beef said. I think the Colbert loss was more telling and more devastating than the Rayo loss, and I'll explain why. Okay, because Colbert was hanging on for dear life and looked like he didn't want to be in there after a while. Rayo, he did get smashed. I'm not taking away anything from his opponent. He got smashed in that fight, right? But I think that was a case of he was hurt and he just didn't recover, right? And then it was taken out. I think that's what that was. First round knockouts will ever be the most, or anything in the first few rounds, because especially when you're caught cold and early, they're the most deceiving knockouts or stoppages in boxing, right? If reverse Paul Williams Quintana, reverse those fights, Williams knocks him out in the first round. You couldn't convince anybody, nor their mother, that Quintana could outbox him in a 12-round fight. You wouldn't be able to do it. What do you mean? He smashed him in a round. You know what I mean? If the ref jumps in after Marquez goes down the third time against Pacquiao, just waves it off. Well, dude, you're getting smashed. You're done, right? You couldn't convince anybody that Marquez would be able to come back, get the best of Pacquiao in most of those rounds after that, and give Pacquiao hell and high water in the rematch in the third fight, and then knock him out in the fourth. You just couldn't be able to do it, okay? However, I could learn a lot from a fight that goes rounds. And to me, Colbert's been found out. you could walk through his punches, just like once they found Paulie Malignaggi out. You could walk through his punches. He ain't gonna hurt Colbert the way his previous opponent did. However, Rayo could do to Colbert what his previous opponent did, though. Right? I could envision that. Rayo's gonna win this fight, and his last loss wasn't even his fault. It was my fault because I interviewed him. Right? So there was a time where everyone I was interviewing was losing fights. Like, people think I'm joking. Like, you know what I mean?
The D-style curse.
You were the Drake curse.
I would interview them, and they would get like, they would lose by like devastating knockout, like in the second round. Like, what's going on?
You've been ruining fighters for years, man.
Yeah, so I had to stop. Shout out to Christina Cruz. She stopped the curse. I even told Christina I can't interview you. You're gonna get destroyed.
Well, I was on the interview with Christina. So I gave it some.
Did that offset it? Did it offset the?
Offset it, man. I got rid of that.
So I gotta stop doing solo interviews. I know no more solo interviews.
There you go.
So it wasn't his fault. You know what I mean? It was my fault. I'm just saying.
I agree with you on Colbert too, and I feel like O'Shake Foster is who they were trying to market Chris Colbert at 130.
Right.
Like a guy who can control distance, seamlessly transition from offense to defense, can keep you at bay with a jab. Colbert can't do that stuff, I don't think. And maybe we're reading too much into one fight, right? Because Hector Luis Garcia is a good fighter at 130. Maybe we're reading too much, but that's a beautiful thing. That's why I like this card.
Like Colbert's like a Zab Judah without power at this point. You know the way I see it.
I like cards like this though because we're gonna find stuff out.
What I liked what Colbert did though in that fight was you could see he was uncomfortable, but he still gutted it out and gritted it out, and he was able to, go the distance. And I think he showed a little bit of grit in that fight, even though he lost clearly. Obviously, it wasn't a great night for him, but the fact that he held on and made it to the end and tried to compete. Being under those circumstances, I give him a little bit of credit for that.
Oh, for sure. He'll look. He's going to win the hearts and minds, and he's going to try to compete in his loss against Rayo this Saturday.
Could be right. It's a tough fight, man. It's close.
But that is that. Hey, let's talk about what I asked Ernesto. I want to go around really quick. Beeb, Adrien Broner signed with Don King. They even took a picture in front of him. Yes. Don King has some audacity taking a picture with cash on the table when his fighters out there saying this dude owes him money, like Dubois, right? But I don't know if he ever paid Dubois, but I'm just saying. Another thing, Broner, what are you doing? Like those baby mamas are going to come for that child support because they know you got it because you took a picture with it. All right, I'm just putting that out there. All right, he's got like 7 baby mamas. How many baby mamas? This dude's got a lot of baby mamas, bro. He's on the Frisch and Fit podcast. Like, oh yeah, if you date me, I gotta fuck your girl. Your best friend. Whoa! I gotta date. You gotta let me fuck all your best friends. Well, no wonder you got like 7 baby mamas and shit. Well, they're coming to collect, brother. Frisch and Fit can help you with that. Hey, but what do you make of it?
Way too much personal information out there.
Hey, I'm just saying that's what he was saying.
What is this, TMZ or is it the RoundTable?
Hey, should I interview Tag before the Ryan Garcia fight? Go ahead.
Nice. What is this? World Star Hip Hop or the RoundTable? Nice.
What do you make? What do you make of the him signing with Don King?
It's gonna take me a couple minutes to gather myself. Okay. Yeah, this is a great move for Adrien. No, this is. I actually feel bad for
only in America.
Broner. I feel bad for Adrien Broner. I just think he's ran out of options here. It's like he's knocked on every door, and this was like the last person to open the door for him and let him in.
Oh man!
And this is where we're at right now. Now I'm not going to go on this sexual escapade about like you did, but I just think this is a bad move, and I'm just going to leave.
I was just quoting the guy.
You were kind of taking liberties with some of those quotes, but I don't want to get into it.
I'm done backing AB. I spent so many years gang trying to defend AB. Him and Tyson Fury, it's just embarrassing how much Tyson Fury and Boo Boo Andrade, I spent years defending. And I can't defend AB after that fiasco with the Figueroa fight. Like, I'm done. So I got no faith that it looks like he got his belly in check. It looked like he was doing good with Cunningham in that build up to the other fight that didn't materialize with his opponents who kept dropping out. But he's in the boat now with Don King, who looks like he's kind of suffering maybe a little bit of dementia in his age. He really he doesn't interview as well as he used to. Bob Arum seems to be in a lot more, wherewithal in the moment than Don King is.
True.
I wouldn't mess with Don King or sign a contract with him at all. But I don't think we're going to see Adrien Broner in any meaningful matches anytime soon. I think the Adrien Broner chapter is kind of closed. But I could be wrong. Maybe he does gang it up one more time and give us an awesome fight with, I don't know, a Conor Benn or something. I don't know.
Well, look, all I'll say is this. Anyone who knows anything about Don King knows his quote about cash and checks, okay? And the fact that they were sitting in front of a table with cash tells me everything I need to know, okay? So that means he worked you, AB. Like, it is what it is. Okay, Christine, what do you make of it?
I mean, I think Ernesto was right. Like, I don't know why Don King would do it. Like, that is like the dumbest move in boxing. I know why, AB would do it. He wants to smell cash again. I bet he has nightmares of flushing all that money down the toilet, years ago. Yes, he's going to owe Don King his soul and his firstborn and everything
He
else.
flushed $100. He didn't flush like.
But I think it's ridiculous. I mean, what's he going to do? Where is he going to put him? Is he going to go back to being, a club fighter on a YouTube live stream? Like, really? Like, who really wants to see it? Really?
Okay. All right. Calix, what do you mean? Maybe you feel it's a blockbuster move. I don't know. Like, but you put it up there with like LeBron going to the Lakers. Like, where do you put this?
A little lower than that. Did you see
the Dodgers signing that Japanese dude? Just won the World Series. What do you put it?
The funny thing about this is when Adrien Broner posted, I believe it's on Instagram, Tank Davis said, "Y'all both look the same age."
That
was so sad. Like the people often misinterpret how I felt about Adrien Broner throughout his career, that I'm some sort of Broner hater, and I'm not. It couldn't be farther from the truth. I thought he brought a lot of value to the sport. The pushback that I had with Broner was when they were marketing him as a pound-for-pound fighter, and he was never that. They should have been marketing a guy coming up the same weight class, Terrence Crawford, as the pound-for-pound guy, and just market Broner as the action-packed entertainment guy, and it would have put less pressure on him. It would have been less of a it would have been less like people wouldn't have been as disappointed after the Maidana fights and such. But Broner just isn't Broner anymore. He's 1-2-1 in the last 6 years. He's fought 4 times in the last 6 years, D-style, and he's 1-2-1. It's just not there. And why is he?
One is disputed, by the way.
The reason he's going with Don King is where else are either one of them going to go? Like, when Ernesto asked, would Bob Arum do this? Of course he wouldn't, because he doesn't have to. Don King has to. BLK Prime had to. And I'll say this, though. I was cheering for him a little bit when he went with BLK Prime, because I was like, okay, he's going to get some money. I think they'll put him in there with some good matchups. But it was clear to me after the third fight fell through that somebody was sabotaging that whole thing. I think somebody was sabotaging the Broner to BLK Prime thing. I think they just wanted to put an end to the BLK Prime movement altogether. And Broner has to go elsewhere, and it's with Don King. And I just expect him to sit on the shelf. Maybe he'll get a fight this year. Maybe he'll get a fight next year. But it's done. It's done. But I wish him the best, though. Like, as a fan, I hope he does well. I just don't see a guy out there that he can upset, a big name. If he would have won a big fight at welterweight, D-style would have been by now. He would have done it by now. He's not going to do it now.
Well, it is what it is. My opinion is that I don't have an opinion. I don't know what the fuck Adrien Broner's thinking. I don't know why he's taking pictures with cash when he has like 7 baby mamas. That he's got to pay child support too. That's not smart.
Please.
I'm just putting that out there, bro. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
He's got a family.
Well, like you want to go to Fresh and Fit and act like you're the dude, but like, are you the dude? Like, I'm just saying. But look, it is what it is. Jose Ramirez versus Richard Comey for some reason is going to be on this card. Sinisa Estrada is also in the card, by the way. If you guys want to make a quick comment about that, but Hot Minute, we'll start with you. What you making of the fight?
The best thing about Comey versus Ramirez is Ruprecht versus Estrada. That's the best thing going on with that card.
And they put on the wrong night, in my opinion.
Jose Ramirez, they should have done it on a Friday night or
yes,
just
why didn't they?
Brain fart. I don't know.
That's a good point.
It's going to be tough for them to compete for viewership with the card. Jose Ramirez, his last fight was at Pedraza, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he lost something after that Josh Taylor fight, like that chutzpah. I don't really know what happened. I don't know what he lost, but I've always liked Richard Comey. He's a fighter's fighter. He'll take a fight anywhere. He'll fight, but he's definitely got some technical deficiencies to it. And Jose Ramirez is a bit linear with it too. I definitely favor Jose Ramirez in that fight. Maybe even a late stoppage in that one. But I'm really not too eager to see that matchup. Jose Ramirez, I used to be big on him. Obviously he has that deep amateur pedigree. Central Valley, California represent for the state, but that he should have been fighting Prograis. And that whole fiasco really just is not a good look for somebody who was one of the big champions of the division. He shouldn't be fighting Comey. But Estrada and Ruprecht, I think, is going to be a much more entertaining fight. I like Tina Ruprecht, but Sinisa is going to win, I think, by decision in a very, very fun scrap. That's what I think.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. Joe Habib, you and I have been very high on Sinisa. I've gone as far as to say she's the most talented fighter, pound for pound.
Don't interview her. Do not interview her.
No. What do you mean?
I'll be there. Don't worry, Christine.
One-on-one.
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Person interview. You know
I'll
what I
be
mean?
there.
I'm going to do a one-on-one in-person interview. How about that? You know what I mean? No, but Joe, what do you make of Jose Ramirez against Pedraza? I mean, not Pedraza. Comey. What you make of the fight?
Yeah, this is it's kind of a head scratcher to me. I don't understand this fight. Comey's just recently moved up to 140. I thought he lost his fight against Pedraza. I actually thought Ramirez looked good against Pedraza. I thought he put on a good performance. I even thought Ramirez did a good job against Josh Taylor. I actually had that fight just like the judges had at 114 and 112. I thought they were even in rounds, just that the two knockdowns separated them. And I thought one of the knockdowns was kind of iffy. But, Josh Taylor won the fight, but I thought it was close. I think Comey at 140, I'm just not seeing it. He's got a great right hand, but he's more of a mid-range guy. He's not the fastest guy in the world. I just think this is not the type of style that gives Ramirez problems. Ramirez has problems with those guys with quick feet, the counterpuncher types, and Comey's just not that. I do think Ramirez is a very, very tough, rugged inside fighter. I think he puts his punches together well. He's a good body puncher. He's a very fluid combination puncher too when he does get inside. I do see Ramirez outworking Comey, and Comey, like I said, isn't the fastest guy in the world. He kind of slows down as well in fights in spurts. And sometimes his volume does dip down as the fight goes on. So I could see a mid to late round stoppage by Ramirez. I could see that.
Okay. All right, man. Hey, Christine.
I'm gonna keep it short and sweet with Ramirez and Comey. I hate to say this, but the last time that I had seen Ramirez and interviewed him, he seemed a little punchy, a little, I don't know. Like I think he's been damaged, and I think that's one of the reasons why he did not take Regis' fight, because that would have been ended not well. I think he kind of needs this fight, but I'm not excited about it. I mean, I think he's going to beat Richard Comey. But the Sinisa Estrada fight, like, all hail the queen. Like, to me, she's badass, and and I'm excited about that one. The Ramirez Comey, not so much.
All right, okay. All hail Sinisa Estrada. You know what I mean? I wish Sinisa was on the plan. Benavidez on the card. Like, can we do a trade? Can take
Right?
the Ramos fight with the what's his name?
Well, this isn't a narrative. I don't think PBC likes women boxers, but just call it a hunch.
It could be. I mean, they weren't even paying Clarissa that good when she was on Showtime. So, Calix, Comey, Ramirez, DVR.
And by the way, Ali Sekback and Jose promised us this fight wasn't going to happen, and here we are. But I don't want my
Progress. Don't believe those rumors, Progress.
Right.
It's not true.
I don't want my hatred of this fight to be an indictment of Comey though, because I like Comey a lot. He's a vet. He's a professional. He does things right. He goes in there with fighters. He was a legit guy at 135. He just fell short at the top, right? Guys like Lomachenko, guys like Teofimo, Pedraza was a close fight that could have went either way. But 140, stepping up a weight class, fighting a guy who's been cemented in that division for a while, a guy who's been to the tippy top of that division. We expect more of Jose Ramirez, right? Yeah. And we're all guys here, like and Christine, lady here, that we like what's been going on with Ramirez before this, right? Like up until this past year, I'm not going to do this because of, I got to get married and have a honeymoon. And then we all expect him to fight Prograis. And then he's got a problem with 65-35. You got a problem with 65-35. Then, let's try to negotiate something. They don't seriously negotiate anything. That's the frustrating part about this is you want to see Jose Ramirez get back on track. I talked about earlier on the podcast, this is a weekend where we're going to find out a lot of things. Some guys' stocks are going to rise. Some guys, it could be Chris Colbert or Rayo. They're going to be 2 straight losses, and, it's going to be tough sledding after that. Some guys are going to stay stagnant no matter what they do this weekend. Jose Ramirez is one of those. If he beats Comey, he beats Comey. It's not a big deal. We don't find anything out about that. But I'll say this. I wouldn't mind seeing some upsets this weekend. I would not mind seeing some upsets. And Comey is a big underdog. It's now up to 9-1 odds. He's a big underdog. And
you pulling the trigger? Are you going to pull the trigger?
No, I don't.
You won't do it. You won't do it. Benavidez by stoppage. Benavidez by stoppage, Carlos. Come on.
He's got the safety on. He has the safety on right now.
He's got the Beeb endorsement.
Beeb, you know what I'm close to pulling the trigger on, though, is Benavidez is plus 450 by decision. Plus 450 by decision.
That would be a great bet. Better than the over. If you really like that, that's a good bet.
Look, I was talking to this about Calix. Like the over-under odds suck. They're both negative. Like negative 150 it was, whatever it was.
Yeah. It's even.
Like if you think it's going to go decision, just bet Plant and Benavidez by decision. Like
hedge it.
They're like plus 4 some, plus 3 some.
Benavidez by KO, but now may take a nice C note and throw it on the decision, bro.
Yeah, man. Hey, shout out to the chat, by the way. Hey, I want to go to this one right here. Eddie Hearn is doing the rounds. Okay, it's still talking about Conor Benn, still getting grilled about Conor Benn, right? It is what it is. But the fight he's throwing out there is saying, hey, it's possible. The Manny Pacquiao fight is on the table. Are they going to drag an old Manny Pacquiao? I mean, I guess he's a grown man. He's not going to get dragged, right? But are they going to entice Manny Pacquiao to a big fight here with Conor Benn? And how do you what does your spidey senses tell you about Manny Pacquiao getting in the ring with Conor Benn at this age, at this point of his career? Let's start with you, Christine. That possible matchup.
I am so not excited about the possibility, and Manny is one of my all-time favorites, I think that he could get seriously hurt. And I don't want to see that. I know that in his mind, he's like, I still have it. I mean, that's how all boxers are. They need people to say, no, sit down, but I'm not excited about it, at all. And why? To get Conor Benn paid? What is it about? Who wants to see this?
I mean, maybe Cali's supposed to see Cal. You want to see Manny Pacquiao come back? You want to see a dude that's almost 50-year-old? He probably has gray hair now at this point, right? You want to see him get in the ring with a young, hungry lion like Conor Ben?
I do. I'm sorry.
Monster. You're a
I
monster.
want to move off the screen.
Yes.
Yeah,
you're a
I
monster.
do. Look, I'm torn on this because I'm Pac-tarded. I'm a Pac-tard. You know that. So
You're a Pacquiao fan? You want to see it?
Just like that's what I'm saying. Like, just like I felt, still feel about Roy Jones. It's like, why you hate, being from the Gulf Coast, Roy Jones fan, it's tough to see, but these guys can't leave, right? But look, maybe this is a bad take. Maybe this makes me a horrible boxing fan, but I think Pacquiao deals well with guys who come towards him, right? And Conor Ben will do that. And this will turn into an entertaining, fun fight. It will be fireworks. And I think it's a winnable fight for Pacquiao. I do. Like, Ugas presented more issues, presented more challenges, taller, lankier guy who knew how to use his size and then wrap up and give him different looks. I don't know if Conor Ben has that versatility. That's not saying that Ugas is a better fighter overall. I just think matchup-wise, if there's going to be a top welterweight out there that Pacquiao can still beat, it's Conor Ben. And on top of that, as a boxing fan, I miss the Pacquiao era. So there's still part of me that's still holding on to that, right? Like the 40-something-year-old chicks who go to the New Kids on the Block concerts, right? Like, there's still that part of me who still wants to see Pacquiao roll out there and beat a top welterweight in a big
Literally
fight.
roll out.
And I think, and Pacquiao's the guy. I don't think exhibition fights do it for him. I think for Mayweather, it does it for him. I don't think it does it for Pacquiao. I think he needs that. Like, he needs to compete. And if there's a welterweight out there he's going to beat in the top 10, I think Conor Ben stylistically is a guy who I want to see it. I'm sorry, I want to see it, but I don't think it's going to happen though, because I think that Conor Ben's going to fight Kell Brook. I think he's going to fight Kell Brook.
All right, Beeb, would you be on board for a Manny Pacquiao versus Conor Ben fight? And do you think it'll even happen?
It's not going to happen. I think actually he's going to fight Chris Eubank Jr. and he's going to fight him. I don't think Chris Eubank Jr. because Chris Eubank Jr. hasn't signed for that Liam Smith fight yet. that's the fight Eddie Hearn was saying he really wants. Mm-hmm. And I kind of feel that fight is going to be next. I do think Chris Eubank Jr. will kind of bypass that rematch with Liam Smith, and I think this is the fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Kell Brook maybe fought Liam Smith. That's a possibility, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't even be surprised if Janabek and Liam Smith got it on next.
I don't think Kell would come back for Liam. I think Kell would come back for Conor Ben. I think he would come back for that fight.
That could be true too, yeah. That could be true too. But I do think Eubank Jr. and Conor Ben will get it on. I don't think the Pacquiao fight would happen. Right now, if the Pacquiao fight was announced, I'd be lukewarm to it. But me being the degenerate that I am, as close to the fight came, I'd start getting excited about it. I always say that I don't like a fight, and then when the fight comes close, and
me too,
I start liking it. I don't know. I'm such a sucker for these guys. I mean, if there was like a million Beebs out there, everyone would be doing like a million pay-per-view buys.
Everybody be paid.
Yeah. I'm such a degenerate, man. I go to therapy because I can't stop buying pay-per-views. That's how sad it is.
Jeff,
that's my addiction.
Hot boxing minute.
I've had to cancel dates with pretty women sometimes because I had to buy pay-per-views. That's how sad it is.
Oh yeah, you need therapy. Yeah.
Hot boxing minute. What are your thoughts on a potential adherence saying it's on the table? Manny Pacquiao, Conor Ben fight.
Well, I mean, first off, let me say, Habib, I feel you on that. My pay-per-view expenditures for this damn sport is ridiculous, and I still stream. I stream and I buy pay-per-views because there's just too much boxing going on internationally. I'm a Pac-tard. I am Filipino, and but I'm not Calix level Pac-tard. I don't want to see Pac-Man in there. I don't want to see Pac-Man in there with Conor Ben. No, not maybe the Conor Ben before he started getting on the eggs diet when he was barely getting decision rounders against journeyman. That Conor Ben, not the one that all of a sudden, you know, is hooking up with Billy M. Smith's camp, and all of a sudden he's just knocking everyone senseless. But I was really, really, really excited when I saw that tag team poster, that KSI, Mayweather, and then Pac-Man and Salt Poppy. Like, that would be awesome.
I'm in on tag team boxing. I'm just saying. I'm in.
You guys.
I was so thoroughly entertained. I'm not even lying. I was like, dude, this is so rad. It's so mindlessly stupid.
I don't like it. It's scary.
I don't want to see Pac-Man in the ring against Conor Benn. Let Uncle Manny live, and I wish he would be content knocking out scrubs in exhibitions like Floyd. But Uncle Manny, I don't want to see him in there with Conor, and I do believe Conor's going to go in there with either a Chris Eubank Jr. next or somebody American that used to be a name, maybe Gang Adrien Broner. I don't know, but
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I don't want to see Pac-Man in the ring. Not Uncle Manny.
Hey, look, I just, it's time. Like, I'll be honest. When I saw the Ugas fight, I just, because look, you have to grade him by his greatness, right? So I saw a fighter that was a little too slow, not the same anymore, and it's. Just like when you see a great NBA player, you don't want to see them like in the bench. So, you know what I mean? Like, it's time for Manny to just hang him up. I just don't. I don't want to see him do what even. It doesn't have to be exhibition. Even like what Sergio Martinez is doing right now. Just it's like sad. Like, you know what I mean? Like for them. You know, it's the way I feel about it. And I don't like the image of like Conor Benn knocking Pacquiao the fuck out. And then like celebrating like he just did something amazing.
Yeah.
And then having that name on his resume. And then I got to hear dudes that don't like Pacquiao say shit like, oh, you would have beat him in his prime too. Like I just don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? I'm just saying.
Like, it was tough watching Roy go to Australia and lose.
But you want to see him fight Conor Benn?
I know. I feel like he can win it.
I mean, this is a guy that wanted to see two brothers beat each other with the Klitschko's when they were champions. I mean,
I think the Charlo brothers should fight each other for the middleweight title.
Please, Calix, please. That's sadistic.
Quick question for the panel. Quick question. Well, you know, we'll touch on it when we talk on this topic. Last topic. Jermell, in a recent interview with Brian Custer, called out Terrence Crawford. Okay, you know he talks. He's always like wiggle, like he's like those bobbleheads you put in the on the dashboard in your car. You know what I mean? Like he's like, yeah, well, you know, he don't want to fight me. You know, like the Spence fight's hard to make, but not a fight with me. You know, that's the way. You know, it's whatever. But he comes out and he says, out of his mouth, he literally says, he's like, yo, a fight with me is easy to make, not like a Spence fight. You know what I mean? I wonder what the panel like. What do you make of that comment? Because to me, it was like maybe he didn't mean to, but he kind of said a lot about Spence when he said that. It's my opinion, right? Like, well, okay, why is it hard for Spence to make a fight with Crawford, but not you? And you're just giving him the same answer. Just call Al, and we'll make the fight easy to make with me. Like, okay, well, so what are you saying about Spence? Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Okay, but second part of the question. Should he even be talking about Crawford? Because he's got a young phenom over there in Australia named Tim Tszyu that he probably should be focused on more, right? Is he overlooking Tim Tszyu at this point? Because he's already talking about Crawford. But we'll start with you, Babe. What do you make of those statements about making the fight? It's easier fight to make than Spence, and do you think he's overlooking Tim Tszyu?
It would appear that he'd be overlooking Tim Tszyu if he made a comment like that, and obviously, I think he probably said that because him and Crawford have very bad blood. The only reason why I could think he would say that is because maybe he was implying that I wouldn't require as much money as Spence wants, so you could deal with me easier. I'll take less money to fight you than Spence would. That could be one argument. I don't know if that's what it is. But that could be the argument because it appears the biggest issue with that fight not being made between Spence and Crawford is money. And maybe, like I said, Jermell doesn't have that issue, that he's not looking for that Errol Spence type money. He probably hasn't made that Errol Spence type money yet. So he doesn't know what it's like to have that money. So he's probably willing to wait it out in his career before he gets that type of payday. But yeah, I don't know why he wouldn't be focusing on Tim Tszyu right now. I don't know why Terrence Crawford's name would be in the mix at this point in time. It's never a good thing to look past an opponent, especially one like Tim Tszyu, who's very formidable. So, yeah, I mean that's the conclusion I come to, though. I do agree that is not good to do to call out someone when you have someone right in front of you, especially a mandatory.
Okay. Hot Boxing Minute. What do you make of Jermell's comments about a fight with him is a lot easier to make than a Spence fight? And do you think he shouldn't even be engaging in this? Do you think maybe he's overlooking Tim Tszyu?
MAGA male, heavy artillery. All praise be due to Al Heyman. Before we begin, I do not believe that he is overlooking Tim Tszyu. I think he's already made those mistakes in the past of overlooking his opponents. He better not be overlooking Tim Tszyu. That dude got chunkums. I do believe that Jermell is a superior fighter, though. When push comes to shove, there's bad blood between him and Terrence as far as going tit for tat with comments. I think Jermell is just too big for Terrence. I don't know if Terrence want to move up to 154. They have the same reach, but he's just a naturally big dude. I don't think he's overlooking Tim Tszyu. If Terrence Crawford were to really try to go for greatness and give himself like a fight or two to acclimate to 154, I believe he'd be a definite problem for Jermell, but I don't see him just going straight up to 154 because it took him a long time for his body to acclimate to welterweight, and he wasn't even the biggest of welterweights to begin with. But yeah, I don't think Jermell is overlooking Tim Tszyu at all. I think he learned a lesson in those first fights with Brian Castano and Tony Harrison to not ever overlook an opponent, especially after that performance that Tim Tszyu gave us just this last fight.
Yep. Okay. All right. Christine, he said it. He said it's easier to fight me. You know what I mean? I'm not milking cows like my brother. I'm actually fighting. You know what I mean? Hey, but what do you make of him saying it's a lot easier? Just give Al a call. We'll make this fight, Crawford. He's talking greasy about Crawford. But at the same time, he's got to be worried about a dude from Australia over there from Sydney.
Well, I have my own theory as far as him saying that it'd be easier to make the fight with you and I than EJ and I. I haven't heard this anywhere. I'm just working, and seeing and whatever. I really feel like EJ has the reason why he's not fighting is maybe there's something there medically, health-wise. I really do believe that. I mean, yes, it was miraculous that he went through this car accident and came out unscathed. But did he, and so I think that, the team, the camp knows something but they're going to protect him, obviously. And he's going to keep talking, and he should, until whatever is rectified, if it's possible to be rectified. I don't think that Jermell is overlooking Tim, in my opinion. I think that he'd rather fight Tim because really, if you watch the interview, he kind of backpedaled a little bit. Terrence is the WBO super champ. How many times did he have to defend his title? Like he told him to get in line, like to earn his shot to fight him. Like really, dude, like he has to get in line. So I don't think that he really wants to fight Terrence. I really don't. I think that he'd rather fight Tim. That's my opinion, even though Tim is definitely a force to be reckoned with. But I don't think he really wants to fight. But he has to talk because he's being attacked or they're going back and forth. He can't just sit there. So he's going to say something. But I don't think that he really wants to fight Terrence.
Okay. All right. Calix, same question to you. What do you make of him putting a lot of focus on Crawford here? And is it a sign or maybe not a sign that he's overlooking Tim Tszyu?
No, I don't think so. People know me by now, and they know I'm a big Mel fan. Not as much Maul, but a big Mel fan. I like his undisputed run at 154. I like the level of competition he's faced. I like his demeanor. I like that he shows up at fights and pulls up on people. I like everything that's going on with him. But one thing I've learned from the modern fighter is they generally will say stuff like this about a fighter when they know the fighter's not an initial threat. And what this tells me is there's probably stuff going on with Errol for his next fight and Bud with his next fight. And we've seen both fighters sort of allude to it on Twitter, right? Bud saying we're close to the finish line, whatever he said. And then Errol saying there's a reason for the inactivity. Just wait. I wouldn't be surprised if they revitalize this Bud versus Errol thing, and that's next. And maybe Mel knows that, and it's easy to call out Crawford when he knows he's got something else going on. But is he looking past Tim Tszyu? No. And I actually appreciate the fact, there's another thing about Mel. I appreciate the fact that an undisputed champion is sticking around in the division and fighting a young lion. And I think it's nothing more than the big name out there, 154, 160, is Tim Tszyu, right? Like Tim Tszyu is the guy coming up now. He's got a name. He's got the last name. So I think that's what we got here. So I don't think he's looking past him.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't think he is either, but I just think he's a little too focused on Crawford at the moment, in my opinion. And maybe it's an ego thing. Maybe he's tired of people bringing up Crawford's name. I don't know. Like, it could be anything, right? So he wants all that smoke or whatever, and maybe that's just his demeanor. Okay, I just want to know what the hell his brother's doing. You know what I mean? Is he still milking cows in Houston? Like what? How many days is this going to stay inactive? I keep hearing stories. Oh, he's going to come back. He's going to come back in June. Like June? Like what? What? It makes no sense. It is what it is. Guys, it's been a great show. I want to thank Hot Boxing Minute, Christine, Calix, Joe Beeb, and Ernesto Malota that joined us earlier. This is D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. That is the show. Peace out.
Thank you.
Peace out.